What's up, everybody? I am back with another comic book spoiler review. This one's gonna be fairly quick. Uh, I tried to, because I wanted to read up on some Spectacular Spider-Ham, aka John Delaney, but I was trying to find ones that uh, didn't coincide with him already knowing about the Spider-Verse or anything like that. And there's one that was like, going as far as like, I don't know, like almost like 100 issues. I could be wrong, but there was a couple ones that was kind of long. This and another one, and there was another one that was like way too short. And like I said, the other's kind of like rough, kind of like spoil the fact that like you already knew about the other spider alternates, and it's like, that's no fun for me because I want to cover the ones that they don't know. Unless you are already from 616 and you already know Peter Parker, I don't want to cover stories where they already know about the Spider-Verse. I'm trying to get to those that isn't a part of that. I get to the stories that wasn't associated with that yet. And I got the Spectacular Spider-Ham 24 issues, and I was going to initially read all of them, although each issue was like kind of long, and I don't want all my stuff to be dragging on longer than they need to be. Also, each of these issues is almost like because this is like a cartoon. It's like a Looney Tune kind of skit. Each one, they don't have like a interwoven kind of thing. This is supposed to be like fun read each issue, so you don't really need to read issue 2 in order to get what happened in issue 1, if you catch my drift. And I tried just dive into the third issue, and there was some there was at least insensitive image with a Native American character that I could have still talked about, but wasn't very good with wouldn't be ideal with slides, because culturally it'd probably be like kind of insensitive. But I figured we'll cover the first two. I think you can read the rest on your own, but I think you'll get the point. So the first issue is just you're in the life of Peter Parker, because in this world everybody is like anthropomorphic kind of animals. They're pretty much like Looney Tune characters, and it's kind of like a play on, a lot of them are like a play on their names too, which is I always thought was very creative. The first issue, Peter Porker battles Doctor Doom, and I can't help but think about like putting, as I'm reading Doctor Doom's dialogue, I can't help but try to apply Daffy Duck to the voice, for the voice. And we got J. Jonah Jackal, and of course there's these 3 misfit type of reporter people that I honestly they play like goofy sidekicks that help here and there, but obviously this playing for comic relief. But I don't know, it could have like made a anthropomorphic version of Robbie Robertson and Eddie Brock and Betty Brant, as like the, you know, uh funny sidekick characters instead of these three whatever kids. But I mean, reading this is fun. It's like just reading like like cartoon shorts out of the newspapers back in the day. So uh Peter Porker shows up at the Daily Beagle and trying to show off some Peter Porker's crime fighting pictures that he took. And of course Jonah doesn't want to, none of that, because it's like, first of all, it's not like he was battling serious villain, and B, it's painting Peter Parker, Spider-Ham, in some heroic light that he wasn't gonna have it. So he get a tip about mysterious planes disappearing over this island, and they go on this, they take a little stroll. This is a cartoon, mind you. They take a little stroll to Jay Jonah's biplane he just happened to have, and he pilots on his own. And as they flying over on this island, it's coming apart, and Peter Porker has to do some quick thinking, and without anybody noticing, web up most of the plane just so they can land easy, because something is trying to pull them down. And this rabbit character notices like the webbing and don't like, he's probably the nerd of the group. He's questioning everything. It's like, okay, how do these like adhesives wind up on the plane? Adhesive, just call it web, dude. And then they started getting attacked by these, mysterious thing. It's coming out of nowhere and bonking them each one over the head. And of course, with Peter, thanks to his spider sense, he just easily like dodged out of the way. But it's still too fast for him to catch on like what it is, until one managed to get a lucky shot in and knocked him out. And it all turns out to be like these kangaroos that take the unconscious people to the feet of Dr. Doom. And Jonah questions him like, what are you doing here? And of course, last time, we see, and I guess in a different adventure, that Dr. Doom was battling the Fantastic Four of the Fantastic Four, animal versions in this universe. And it was on one of these adventures where he got knocked into the sky, Team Rocket style, and crash lands on this island where he meet up with these kangaroos. And so he has a scheme where he uses a giant magnet to pull these planes out of the sky so he can test on these individuals to test like these different types of rock music, like a hypnotic thing, to where we're gonna find one that has them testing on two fronts, testing on these people and make them into like try to make a rock band like overnight, a sensation, and testing on the kangaroos and see if they like anyone. And of course, each one they keep throwing like vegetables at them, like boomerang and everything like that, because Dr. Doom's trying to gain wealth through, it's very 80s cartoon. It's like world domination through rock music, and wealth. And of course, he has, duck henchmen. While Peter Porker and the others are trapped in the cages, he's seen all these people are just being willed out and come back in all dazed and, in a trance. And the ducks then gather the reporter sidekicks and haul them in and eventually put them on a trance. But Jonah tried to stop him, but they knock him out. But this gives Peter Porker the time that he needs to change into his Spider-Ham costume, bend the bars, and leave out to try to put a stop to Dr. Doom's schemes. Now, of course, he gets the upper hand for a moment, but quickly realizes he's completely outnumbered with all these, kangaroos about. But then, thanks to the animal sidekicks, they use the giant magnet on Dr. Doom that he used on these planes to magnetically pull him, upward, and turn the machine on him to hypnotize him into like a into that trance, and started doing like rock, playing rock music and everything like that on the guitars. And of course, the kangaroos love him. I mean, there's funny moments in the pages. I don't do it justice just by trying to describe it. It's like trying to explain a joke. It stops being funny if you do. But you definitely just read some Peter Porker. Most of these are kind of fun. Although some of these, keep in mind, like the third issue, just keep in mind, when this was created back in the day. And also, it's kind of like old school Looney Tunes, so you gotta brace yourself for certain things that might not be politically correct, if you know what I mean. So they end up, putting a stop to Dr. Doom and save everybody. And then the story ends with J. Jonah Jackal jamming out in his office to Dr. Doom's music. I think that got a snicker out of me, because that was, I did not expect that. Then we got another kind of like a short-ish story, or at least like a kind of like a cartoon short, but in long comic book format. Spider-Man of Buzzards and Bullfrogs, and he just finished defeating his Vulture, and while trying to force him into a landing, he nearly winds up crashing into J. Jonah Jackal's own house while he's at home nursing the cold. And it still ends up waking him up despite the safe-ish landing. And of course, Jonah took notice that there's a newspaper boy tossing out newspapers that isn't the Daily Beagle. It's some other newspaper company that's came out of nowhere, but instantly became like a rival of his. And now he, despite him being sick, rushes back to work to figure out what's being done about this. And so now an investigation is running, because like, where are these hot new newspaper people coming out of nowhere and ruining my business? And of course, in the meantime, Spider-Ham is stopping crime as per usual, and he took notice about some frog that he probably had dealings with before, and he's following him because he doesn't believe he's up to any good. A second here. So while this is going on, the animal psychics are following this notice this very well dressed lady who is like rummaging through cans, and one of the cans is reading Mick Jaguar, obviously a play on Mick Jagger. For some reason, trash can is named after one of the world's famous musical artists for some reason. Now, and this lady, Mitzi Byline, is a reporter for this rival newspaper print, and they decide to follow her to see, like, to try to solve like what's going on with his mysterious rival company. And they end up following her through this manhole cover. They end up getting, like, busted by these marsupials who are like under a trance. I guess there is some kind of, like, running theme here. It's, there's always some, you gotta have some group of henchmen. They all have to be under some kind of trance. It turns out Mitzi was meeting up with Rupert Hedgehog, who had some issues in the past with, he got ran out of another town for, some scandals. So after Peter loses track of the frog guy, he goes back to work, and if it thanks to JJ, he figures out that the bullfrog's planning a heist, because there's like this what do you call those, the red carpet affairs thing, and he figures the bullfrog is planning on a heist and robbing some celebrities, which, as he points out, a very bold move just to do it just point blank without any type of intricate plan. It's just straight up just do it. Now, while trying to stop Bullfrog, there's these three normal gangsters that came out of the woodwork and said they planned this entire thing. This whole red carpet affair thing. Turns out, they got they got tired, like, if their buddies haven't either got sent to jail, others ends up doing these mundane day-to-day quote unquote honest work in order to and then it's like, they want that fast money. They're like being doing what they did before because they were good at it, and they didn't have to really, I guess, answer to nobody. But it's like you just described scenarios where what could happen if you give up this life of crime and do some honest work just because it's grueling doesn't make it any less important. Others, like, yeah, you just describe, like, yeah, you do the crime, you got to do the time, especially if you get busted. But they set all this up so they can pull off another heist. So there's a bunch of heists going on. I mean, not a bunch, but just two heists trying to go on at once. Now, of course, like Spider-Ham knows that he can easily dodge, a shot from these dudes, but there's people around, so they would end up getting hit. So he's pretty much stuck in place. But thanks to these animal sidekicks, they put these marsupials in a trance and use them as a distraction as Spider-Ham beats up all the other mobsters. And as far as like the rival newspaper is concerned, it's like, I forgot how they got stopped, but it was like a lot going on here. It was like maybe like Spider-Ham stories gets better after, because I want to say, yeah, Spider-Ham was kind of obscure because they stopped everybody. Like all the bad guys got stopped and sent to prison. But I think Spider-Ham comics back in the day really wasn't like an important. At least it was kind of like kids reading or whatever. It's supposed to be funny papers. But it wasn't supposed to be playing kind of serious. But it's maybe you have to grow up at the time just to truly enjoy this. But I think thanks to the whole Spider-Verse stuff, that's when like people revisit Spider-Ham and it made some solid funny stories moving forward, which I will eventually get back to, because there's like a 5-issue Spider-Ham story that I think it was a whole lot more engaging than, because this stuff, there's a plenty of Spider-Ham stuff that came out early 80s, so that's probably, I'm not like grasping all that stuff, but I really wanted to put out and talk about some Spider-Ham stuff prior to the Spider-Verse. It's just none of them were. There's one that was kind of exciting when he was teaming up with Captain America, and you get an introduction of the Incredible Bunny. But that, like I said, that was like really short. That wasn't going to be any fun. But I probably could have just gone with that. But I did read it. That part was fun. I think you could, check that out. It has a little short story at the end with the Goose Rider. So I think this world is a lot more fun when you see all these different animals and the puns in their names. I think that's the fun part. But yeah, I just needed this on the list just to talk about it, just to see, because who knows, I might have enjoyed it. So I just want to at least give it a chance. And if they weren't so long, though, it's like, because you think it's like being a cartoon, they would be like kind of shorts, but it doesn't feel like, it's like you're extending the short. And this could have been at least I don't know, 5-6 pages worth, because it feels like I was like, when I was reading the first issue, it kind of feel like I was reading for days. I'm exaggerating, but you get the drift. But yeah, I mean, like, well, check it out to see for yourself. The early Spider-Ham stories, you might get a kick out of it, but personally, I think if you want to get into Spider-Ham, read the stuff that occurred in the past, like, anything in the past 10 years. I don't think it's that long, but I don't know when they started to really put in the effort for some Spider-Ham comics. But any Spider-Ham that's in the past 10 years, read up on those. I will revisit Spider-Ham, but like I said, like you, I think we should get into the ones that's like post Spider-Verse. But anyway, that is Spider-Ham. Like I said, it's gonna be fairly quick, but I think the first issue was fun. It's 24. It's like a 24 issue run. The third one, like I said, I haven't read any more after, but it's like if it's like in the 80s, kind of based off of like old school Looney Tunes, there might be a few things that might appear problematic, but keeping in the context, it is a cartoon not to be taken seriously. But I can see some people having fun with this. But yeah, stay tuned. In a few minutes, I will be getting into Spider-Man Noir. That is just that is really fun, and that is just 4 issues. So then the next comic, the next foreseeable Spider-Man related comics is going to be like once a week, because moving forward they're going to be kind of long. So I did the ones I could do in 1 week each because they were relatively short. But the rest is going to be kind of long. But not the next one. Next one's going to be Spider-Woman, but I figured it's probably just best to do one at a time so I don't be dragging out stuff per day, because I'll be stretching myself too thin and exhausting myself. So yeah, next one's gonna be Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, and then we get into Spider-Man 2099 right after. So look forward to those. So I will see you guys in a few minutes for some Spider-Man Noir.